how to A/B test like a data-driven pro and actually improve results. So if you're sending emails but not testing, you're guessing. And this section is all about turning every send into a feedback loop that makes your next campaign stronger. I'm Dan, and in this part of the Klaviyo e-commerce strategy series, we're diving into what to test, how to test it, and how to turn your results into scalable wins. One of our clients used just a few of the tests I'll show you today and grew their automated flow revenue from $120,000 to over $680,000 in under a year. No fluff, no button color tests, just smart strategy. And let's break it all down. A/B testing gets thrown around a lot, but most people are doing it wrong. And they test 5 things at once. They maybe pick the wrong metric to manage and watch, or worse, they don't even understand what they're looking for. And here's the truth, A/B testing isn't about tinkering, it's about clarity. In this case, always you're testing one variable at one time to answer one question. What makes people open, click, and buy more? And examples of this, long form copy versus short copy, incentive versus no incentive, smart send time tests versus, say, a 9 a.m. manual drop. The rule here is one test. Again, I'm going to repeat this, one test per send. Otherwise, you'll never know what worked. And we'll go into 8 of the things that we recommend testing first later on in this video. Let's just quickly do an example of a bad test and a good test. Very quickly, super simple, just so that you guys have an idea and we're all on the same page. So a good test here, simple subject line test, just testing the subject line to see if it increased open rates. We have A, which is your 15% off code is inside. And then B being personalized, your name, Dan, in this case, me, Dan, your 15% code is about to expire, adding urgency at the end. Here we're adding personalization and urgency versus offer and the emoji. Again, clear takeaway. If it opens, if it increases opens, we know which one wins. A bad test is on the right side and where we're just testing too many variables. And again, this is super extreme just so that you get an idea. But again, just to really clearly demonstrate, we want to be testing one variable at one time. Bad test being the subject line, a CTA button change, a layout, versus the B where the layout is long form. We're testing a new CTA instead of a button. We've got a text link. We're doing a mystery discount in the subject line. Again, the problem here is you just don't know what drove results, right? Is it the CTA, the design, the subject line? We don't know. So moving on to the next part. We know what to test, or at least we know where to start with the testing. We're doing one variable. What's next? Where do we test it? Usually people say, okay, we'll just test it on a campaign that we're sending out this week. No, don't do that. Before you get caught up testing subject lines in campaigns, focus on your flows. That's where the highest ROI lives. And here's where to start. So first of all, you have your pop-up, right? Your capture forms, those that are signing up for your welcome series, going through the first flow, the first set of emails. You want to make sure you're testing that consistently to see what drives the most amount of opt-in rates. And also, how can we increase profit margins by maybe playing around with the discount, right? We don't want to be always offering like a crazy high discount when we could be offering maybe 10% less and still having the same amount of opt-in rates and conversions. So try different lead magnets, copy angles, or designs, and we want to aim for around 10% plus opt-in rate. The welcome flow. So after you test your pop-up, where else are you testing the flows? Where do you get the most volume? Where do you get the most eyeballs on your content? Will be the welcome flow. Here you can get a lot of data on how your subscribers behave when they first enter your email system. Okay, so always testing here to see how do your audience react to certain things? Do they prefer long form copy versus short form copy? Do they prefer plain text for emails versus designed emails? Here we want to test lots of different things. So copy length, CTA positioning. So does it need to be higher up in the email, or maybe it needs to be lower down? Even the layout of the emails. So making sure that maybe the lifestyle imagery is at the top and products are at the bottom. Or we open up with a problem and the solution is at the bottom, or the solution is at the top and the problem is at the bottom. You want to play around with the layout as well. So here we want to increase AOV and conversions. And then lastly, choose another flow which has high ROI, high volume. In this case, could be one of your abandonment flows. I've chosen abandonment carts here. And usually you want to try things like social proof versus urgency. So do they need to trust your brand more, or do they just need to stop procrastinating and take up on the offer that you're giving them? You could test on incentives. So maybe on your abandoned cart, you try instead of offering like an extra discount, you try free shipping as well as maybe a current offer that you've got running. Once your flows are dialed in, that's when you go and test your campaign performance. All right. So start with the flows, start with where you get the highest volume, and then move on to your campaigns. This is just like a quick example of a welcome series test. So you can have, like, in this case, it's an incentive. You've got the quiz and you've got just to save 20% off. And the objective of this is, one, to see, okay, can we increase the signups with the pop-up by introducing a quiz plus a discount? And can we gather first-party data, which we can then use to personalize our emails more? Does that increase opt-in rates? Does that increase conversions? Maybe in this case, because a quiz is usually more engagement-driven, the opt-in rate is increased. And in that case, conversion rate stayed the same because the discount is 20% off, and we know the discount works, but we've got more people opting in, and then more people, obviously the same conversion rate stayed the same, which means we're having more revenue, right? So something like that could be a good idea. Try adding a quiz onto your current offer. Maybe that helps. Okay, so next part is how to run a test. So there's two ways to go about running a test, okay, within the email system. So option one is the 50-50 split, where you send an A/B tested full list. Option two is a sample-based test, where you send a small amount to a smaller, so a group, or a test segment, a sample size segment. Then you send the rest, the remaining, to you send the winner. How to run a test in Klaviyo. So two main ways. We have the 50-50 split test, where you send the same email to your entire segment and you split it evenly. Or in another case, it could be 33-33-33 for like multi variety. And then you wait, you analyze and decide. Option two is a sample-based test, where you send, say, to a 20% sample, wait, say, 4 or 5 hours, and then you auto send the email to the remaining amount. You auto send the winner to the remaining amount. Now, our recommendation here at Hays is just to stick to the 50-50 split, because it's faster, cleaner, and more consistent. Unless you've got a huge list, then you want to try sample-based. And a huge list is usually like 500,000 subscribers plus, and you're sending to the majority of those people. And here's an example of how to conduct this and what it looks like in Klaviyo. So this is a 50-50 test. Placed order rate is the main metric in this case, and then you have 50-50 A, B. Sample-based, again, same on the placed order, and then A is 25%, B is 25%, and then the winner will get auto sent to the remaining 50% after 4 hours. So what to measure and what actually matters? Long story short, money goes in the bank is where it matters, right? So revenue per recipient is always the metric you want to be looking at. But let's just entertain the other parts, which is the click-through rate. Click-through rate is the clearest signal for message strength. So if you find that a plain text founder story drives incredible click-through rates, then it's like, okay, that's something worth looking into to improve engagement, improve deliverability. Open rate, I think after post iOS 15, is not as important, but it's definitely something, it's still useful. You don't want to ignore it. And then, where the money goes is the ultimate goal, right? Money in the bank. So let's say in the case of like a little test, right? You've done designed versus plain text, okay, for your welcome series email one. And the test results show that the design email got less CTRs, right, than the founder email, which was a plain text, and that one got high CTRs. So the plain text got high CTRs than designed email. However, the design email had a 5% increase in placed order rates compared to the plain text email. In this case, which test wins? You go for the plain text email. You go for the designed email that has the highest placed order rates. Always, you want to make sure that if one email has higher placed order rates, that is the winner. But you can still take learnings away from the other emails as well, which you can then apply to your further tests. Okay, so probably the part you guys have been waiting for, which is the real tests that move the needle. We've got 8 here. I'm not going to go into them too much because they pretty much say what it does on the tin type thing. So I'd say copy these, take a screenshot, and try 3 of them out on your brand and see how it goes. The important thing here is to run every test 2 to 3 times before drawing any conclusions. Okay, and this is just a proof of a test we did, which had a just under a 50% click rate lift with a win probability of 90%. In this case, I'm not sharing the placed order rates just because that's private information, but you can rest assured that also the placed order rates were higher. That's why it was so statistically significant. Klaviyo is quite good in the sense that it will automatically tell you if it's statistically significant or not. And usually it's correct, but obviously please use your own judgment before you make that decision. Okay, so I'm assuming you've taken a screenshot of this part with the tests that move the needle. Again, let us know, run a couple of these tests and let us know how they go. Curious to know. And then just to finish up, so the rule here. The rule is learn fast and repeat what works. Okay, so as mentioned, run every test 2 to 3 times to ensure that it's consistent. It's not just an outlier. Compound your learnings and track the results monthly with as much information and data as you can get. And I know Klaviyo has the experiments tab, which you can go through and you can track and see what's been working. And that'll help you compound your learnings month by month. So just to summarize, the goal of A/B testing isn't to find a magic trick, and it's to find small, consistent wins that add up over time. Every test gives you feedback, and every email becomes smarter with every result compounding. And when done right, this is how you scale efficiently. Now, in the next video, I will walk you through a real client strategy stack with flows, campaigns, segmentation, strategy, and testing, and how we scaled from $31,000 to over $300,000 in email revenue using this exact system that I've gone through with you in this entire series. Okay, I'll see you there.